Hello everybody and welcome back to another movie trivia Schmoedown video. My name is Joker and this is my co-host Alec Splash. It has been a long ass time since we've done a Schmoedown video and I miss it. You know, they were a lot of fun to go through some of the matches and just do our own personal review on how they went, how we think it should have gone, our thoughts on the players and all that stuff. So now that, you know, we've got this draft coming in, you thought it was a great idea to bring it back. I thought it was a great idea to bring it back. We're back and we're talking about the draft.
Yes, we are. Man, this was fun.
It was honestly a lot of fun. You know, first time they've done this, and I didn't know what to expect, but I had a good time watching it.
I've been following along this last season really carefully, trying to pick up the parts of the game that I wasn't so familiar with before. And so, about 3/4 of the way through the season, when the draft was announced, I started to get really excited because I feel more in tune now with the Schmoedown than I ever have before. The field of players is growing, the excitement is growing, and these managers, they brought their game today. This was fun.
Some of the picks were cool. And one thing I really liked about this was the fact that I follow sports, but not that heavily to know how a draft typically works. And I don't know if this was modeled after any specific thing like an NFL draft or not.
They all kind of run on the same model, and this was similar enough to that.
Okay, cool. Because I had no idea exactly how drafts were supposed to function. I knew what they were and what they were about, but I didn't know how they work. So watching this, I can slowly pick up how it works. You know, if you go first in round one, that means you go last in the second round.
That's more fantasy style,
right?
And
so
traditional sports drafts, it doesn't really work that way, but
eventually, I caught on to okay, this person should be next. This is who's left. They should probably pick this person, and that's what it was a learning experience, and I actually enjoyed that. It makes me really excited to see how this is all going to play out, especially with trades later on.
That is going to be the most interesting point, I think, for the Schmoedown moving forward. Is we have this roster, but we know now that that's not necessarily going to stay the same. There are options of signing up to 10 players to your team. Some rosters have available spots. Some people are going to look to make trades and deals, and the Wild Berries may be a part of that. Spoilers if you haven't seen the draft, but if you haven't seen it, why are you here? Not that hard.
Yeah, the corruption breaking up the Wild Berries was a shock factor to the crowd and us.
I had a feeling that they would get broken up because...
But corruption...
Yeah, with Shannon being the one to deliver the news, it's just a little more bitter. You know, it's just a little
more bitter.
Never forgive Mike, man.
No, never. But we're not going to go too in-depth with the draft today. We want to keep this short. We're just going to go over some of the highlights of the draft and what we think personally about certain picks here and there. I do want to say one thing before we start and dive into that a lot. The opening edit that they made for the draft.
Oh, yeah.
The coolest thing ever.
I assume that was done by Eric, Nerd Chronic. I guess that's who put it together.
That's what my original thought was, too. If not, whoever did do it, damn good job. It was amazing. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know he does editing, but I don't know if he did the 3D, Sports Center kind of intro. If we accredited the wrong person, sorry. Whoever did it, you're awesome. Thank you.
If you know, let us know in the comments down below. We want to give proper thanks to that person. But my point is, they're stepping up their game. Schmoedown is getting up there, and this could be a real thing.
I think that with the
put it on ESPN right now.
I think with the announcements coming up, we will start to see this be a little more legitimized. I think people are going to start taking this a lot more seriously. I think this was just the first step to getting the game to be taken more seriously.
Absolutely.
And it was a great first step because everyone there treated it the right way. I was afraid that it might get a little goofy or some people might not take full respect of the situation around them. But it looked like everyone really brought it together, and it was pretty competitive. You even saw people get shocked a little bit, have to take a moment to regroup and find their next pick, and that was fun. I really liked seeing that kind of develop in real time.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome, and now that we've had a chance to sit down, watch the whole draft, see the whole thing play out, and the extra picks that happened off-screen.
Yes. So we are, for anyone that doesn't know, the draft was on Saturday. We are now recording this on Wednesday night.
Today's Thursday.
Thursday. So I guess the draft came out this morning, and we got to it, and we now know that in that almost week that we've had between the draft and it releasing on YouTube, that there have been picks made behind the scenes. We won't be going too far into that, but just know that the rosters aren't completely the same if you've only watched the draft.
Right. So just to keep it short and simple, we've prepared a couple questions that we asked ourselves. We don't know what our own answers are, and let us know what your answers are in the comments down below. But it's just basically just quick, simple things about what we saw from the draft. You got all the questions. You came up with them. What's the first one we're working with?
So the first question is, at a first glance, who do you think is the strongest team? What team do you think put it together the best at the draft?
Right, and I have my answers here. Honestly, at first glance, I thought Roxy and the Rockstars knocked it out of the park the first couple of rounds. I mean, you got Snyder and Draco, powerhouse right there by itself, and then you got JTE on top of that. Now, say what you will about JTE. One, he's hilarious, and two, you never really know what he's gonna do when he's in a match, and most of the time, like, it just kills it, and you never know. He always comes in at that last second, takes the game for himself, and it's one of the well-known things about him, so I think that's a smart pick. Plus, you technically already won the Star Wars division by taking Alex Damon, so, like, come on, man. Star Wars explained. he is the Star Wars.
I just hope that we live to see the day that Molly comes in and takes that belt right off of Alex. That would just complete my life.
While I don't doubt that it could happen, I don't know, man.
I mean, he is a machine. Don't get me wrong. I don't discredit
he
this
is
man
an
at all.
unfazable robot.
The only way he drops the Star Wars title this year is if he goes full into inner geekdom and just gets kind of separated. He doesn't have the time to study, the Rise of Skywalker or whatever it's going to be. That's the only way I could see him losing it in the foreseeable future, because he is just locked in. He's too clutch. He doesn't miss, and yeah, just hats off to Alex.
It's going to be great.
I have a slightly different viewpoint on this one, because I think that amongst everything in this draft, the one constant was that the Finstock Exchange has the experience and they have the championships to back it up. Sure, they took some risks in the later round, but their front five, really, that's hard to beat.
Definitely.
That is incredibly hard to beat. And with Ben Bateman being your number one pick as the singles champion, sure, he said he's a stand-in for Dan Murrell. That's not a bad place to be in. If you're still getting Dan Murrell and you've got Ben Bateman, add in the fact that Roka and Riley are behind him, I just don't see a way that this team is, not the favorite going into it, just because the precedent's there. And sure, there are some good competitors. The Odd Couple with Roxy, Shazam with Koi. There are some good choices to say, like, well, because of this, you can say this. All in all, I think they have that pretty locked up. They may not be as complete across all divisions. They do have Emily the Rose, and so Inner Geekdom is a priority, it seems like. And the Barbarian could be anything at this rate. We don't really know much about him.
He showed up and then he was gone.
Yeah, so we're looking to see how that's going to develop, but I think as far as front-loaded talent goes, the Finstock Exchange, once again, coming out on top. Bobby Gucci doing what he always does. Manager of the year, another year, and probably every year. He's just that damn good.
And that's the other thing, is like, I don't want to take that away from him at all, because with the Finstock Exchange, we see Bobby Gucci. We know he likes to joke around and just be his own thing, but when it comes to this stuff, he definitely knows what he's doing when he's picking these players. That's why you see such a stacked roster for the Finstock Exchange.
Yeah, it's not like Tom comes in and plays, from behind. He's not out of the loop here. It's clear that though he was already in a favorable position, he didn't take this lightly. People were talking about some of these guys that they've drafted, and I mean, come on, he ended up with Cody Hall. Like, that's an instant win in anyone's book. But they came out so well from this. Maybe it was because they had most of the best players in the league, or I won't say most, some of the best players in the league, and the arguable GOAT. Or as Gucci would say, not arguable at all, throwing out Dan Murrell's the best to ever do it. That might have something to do with it, but still, they come out of the draft, and unless Roka is just tilted by being a fourth-round pick or whatever, I don't see a way that this team is not the favorite.
Absolutely.
Moving on, we have the team that you're kind of most worried about, something that, just stood out to you as maybe not being as well thought out, or just on the poor, recipient end of the draft. And my pick has got to be the Dungeon, because even though in their first two picks, I think they knocked it out of the park, they locked down an entire division, beyond that, I don't see a whole lot behind that roster that really gives me hope for them. And I could be wrong. There's a lot of young talent there. They could really, we have a history of young players coming in and doing great things in the Schmoedown. And maybe I just don't know enough. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just out of the loop when it comes to some of these players. But to me, I think if you've got a batch of new players, there has to be a leader somewhere along the line, and I don't think Kaiser's that guy. You may say, but he got Oyama and Smets to a title. I think Oyama and Smets got each other to titles. I don't want to talk about that part. I don't think Kaiser had anything to do with it. I think he was at a coffee shop down the street while they were studying and doing all that. No, it's fine.
And I'm definitely going to agree with you on this one, because I, too, am worried about the Dungeon, simply because you look at those first two picks, I think it's a no-brainer that Kaiser took Kevin Smets. They've been together since like the beginning.
I mean, yeah,
so that makes sense.
It was his protected pick as champion, so like.
But the issue I'm having with it is that you get Kevin Smets, which is a great pick overall, and then you get this new kid, Robert Parker, and they're both amazing. So you've got a stacked roster for the Inner Geekdom matches. I'm not too familiar with everyone else on the roster to know what else you have planned beyond Inner Geekdom.
Mm-hmm. I believe Adam Witt was on that team. I think he's probably your strongest solos player. And maybe you pair him up with Zipper, I guess is the plan. But Eric Zipper, who I think is a fantastic human being and a great guy, all around, hasn't been the best at this game so far. He's had some fun matches, but all in all, he hasn't shown that he really has the ability to win consistently. So while I like him enough, it does worry me that he may... have one of those runs like Bateman did last year where everything just kind of falls against you.
Right, and I definitely don't want to take that away from the dungeon either because, sure, I feel worried for the roster, but, I'm not the person in charge of the whole team. Obviously, Kaiser knows more than we do of why he picked who he picked, so that's great. But, at a first glance, I don't know, it looks like he was more heavily weighted towards Inner Geekdom than he was anything else.
Yeah, and that may be the strategy. Maybe that ends up being the hot league this year. Maybe the matches between what could be a potential championship player
he may be setting up for some really big trades later. We don't know.
That could be. That would be very Kaiser-like.
About halfway through the season. I can feel that. He's definitely trying to pick up. He's got some monster trades he has in mind that he probably knows he can pull off.
That really wouldn't surprise me. But just off of first glance, I'm a little worried about the stability of that roster. But again, room to be surprised. I don't know a lot of the last end of that. So maybe these people are just all-stars in the making, and I'm ignorant. That's entirely possible.
And if that happens, you're like, I'm not going to be mad. Great for them.
Yeah, I'll wear that pile on my face.
They saw it coming. They knew what they wanted. But we definitely have more questions. What else you got for me?
So this one's a little more personal just for us, because while we are talking about the specifics and the potential of the players, this game is fun, and that's what we aim to keep all of these discussions. And so, favorite pick of the draft.
Okay.
Who do you have?
I've got a tie here because there were just two that I thought were just way too perfect. And obviously the first one with the Finstock Exchange being Cody Hall. As we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Honestly, seeing him get picked up, I was just way too excited about that. He's one of my favorite people from this whole group. He's hilarious. His San Diego Comic-Con panel that he made up was the funniest thing. I laugh at that every day.
But honestly, we reference that too much. I know, the game is looked at as this kind of it's fun and it's sporty and it's goofy but serious. We've bought in
at the same time. Why we need Fridays at TGI Fridays?
We've bought in on the impact of the emotion and the sport of it, but sometimes that fun is an element you need, and I think Cody Hall, while still being an actual threat of a competitor, he's been pretty good.
And that's the thing I wanted to say, is we don't see him talk a whole lot about movies, because, he's always behind the scenes doing all the sound equipment, all that, but he knows more than you, would think. If you, decided, I was let's match myself up against Cody, what could he possibly know? And then you're shocked and surprised when he just, aces you in that game, because he just secretly knows all this stuff. He does great work on all his short films, so, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I couldn't add anything else to that other than watch The Wanger Show, which if you're not a patron, drops on Thursdays on Amateur Hour Films on their YouTube channel. Go support Cody, Christian, Brian. All those guys deserve it. Go do that. My favorite pick, though, Cody Hall was up there. Alex Marzonia was up there. But Haley Fouch going in the fifth round.
That was my second pick.
Man, what a steal. That is arguably the best pick of the draft, in my opinion. She fell way too low. People are sleeping on Haley.
It was a fifth round pick, right?
Yeah, pretty sure it was
that's
just unreal.
Robbery.
No way. And people, Sam was saying, Janine was the steal already in the third round or whatever. Janine's great, and she could have been a first or second round pick. Third, it's not like it's offensive to her, though. If you have protected picks, if you're behind, you took a team, you're essentially the second pick there. That should be fine, I would imagine. Maybe she feels differently. I won't speak for her, but from the eyes of a fan, that seems reasonable. Haley slipping to the fifth, though, hurt me to my soul, but I'm glad she ended up where she did. What a smart pick. Incredibly well played, and couldn't have been happier to see her go.
100%. I think it's awesome seeing her there. Wasn't expecting it either, which is what made me just Haley Fouch? Hell yeah.
I kept waiting to hear her name. I was oh, surely she's going to go. No. Okay. Well, here? No. Oh, wow. And so when it finally came around, and I think we were talking to each other right before the pick was announced, and I was there it is. Really, the only other big competitor here in my mind that was like a favorite pick was just a favorite pairing, because I think Paul Preston and Tom being together is just one of the best things that came out of this draft as a whole. I love that so much, and I hope they do form a team out of it, because while I did like the movie guys, Adam Witt and Paul Preston,
yeah,
Tom is just such a weird individual, and though we separated him from Drew, which is unfortunate, I want high-octane Paul Preston to be there, just like aggressive in everyone else's face, and Tom to do nothing. I want him to sit there and just watch. That just
let it happen. Let it play out.
Beautiful. The last question I have, though, is I don't remember.
Was it favorite team?
Favorite team.
Favorite
there
team.
You go. I wrote all this stuff down.
This one is slightly a three-way tie. It could be a tie for first and one in second, but I do have the Rockstars for obvious reasons I'll get into, Finstock Exchange, and the Mouthy Mercs.
You see, I have a little bit of the same kind of like, I didn't know who to go with. There's so much fun. There's so much potential in a lot of these rosters. And up until the last second, I think it was a very strong tie between the Den and the Mouthy Mercs.
Really? Okay.
Because as much as I love the people on the Mouthy Mercs, as individuals and as competitors, I think they're great and they're fantastic. I'm just excited to see what Kate's going to do. And so for her and Grace to have the Den to work with and my new probable favorite pairing in Tom and Paul Preston, it just excites me, and it gets me all kinds of amped up for the game. And going down the list after Tom and Paul Preston, we had Brandon Hanna, Sean Sullivan, Diane, Rachel Silvestrini, the Bagel Boy, Alex Marzonia, Saul, and Brett Sheridan. And that last half is really what made it for me.
Saul is going to be
just so much personality in that group of people.
Yeah.
That it just, every time I look at it, I smile, and that's really why I came back to it. Plus, I think Ben Goddard's going to surprise some people. If you haven't been in his streams, he studies by watching Schmoedown matches live on Twitch.
And I saw that the other day. I thought that was really cool.
And so he has a fun brand already built up as being a part of SEN. He's going to get matches, and I think he'll surprise some people when he actually gets out there, because I don't know if anyone knows what to expect from him, but I've seen him answer some stuff that I would have thought was out of his realm of experience, and he handled it pretty well. So
I definitely can agree with that. On my end, picking the Rockstar simply because, like, for one thing, like, I love Roxy. I think she's amazing. She's a genuine human being. She genuinely loves the Schmoedown and wants to be as involved as she is, and she's doing great so far. But the one thing that I loved was Alex Damon. Simply because when it comes to the Schmoedown, like, yes, I love Inner Geekdom, but when it comes down to it, if I were to compete myself, I'd put myself in the Star Wars match. Whether or not I would last, I don't know. But that's the one thing, like, I tie into the most, and the thing I'm, like, always excited to watch is, like, when they do it at Star Wars Celebration or Comic-Con, which one was it?
Celebration, I believe, is the last one.
Right, and it was awesome. And Alex Damon, knowing literally everything, that's, like, one thing I can look up to is, like, he really knows his stuff. And, like, picking him for that team, like, how can I not root for that team?
Yeah, and I think Star Wars is really what got us to really buy in on the Schmoedown, pretty early on.
Definitely, yeah, for me.
Yeah, because I was familiar with some of the Collider people in that sphere, so it took me a while to find Harloff and them and really get into the Schmo's content.
Yeah, it wasn't until I saw, like, Jedi Council that's when I really got into it.
And that brings you into the world, and then the Star Wars matches got us very hyped, and then we kind of dug in a little deeper, and Inner Geekdom kind of made its way in as that division got stronger and stronger, and now we're all hooked, obviously, or else we wouldn't be doing this.
Like, I love the singles matches, but I'd be garbage at them.
Oh, I'd probably be a Josh McCouga-esque.
I know 1 out of every 10 questions.
I know, like, 6 or 7 around on a good day, 3 to 4 on a bad day.
It happens.
Yeah.
But I do want to go ahead and again mention Finstock Exchange could also be a favorite just because, again, Bobby knows what he's doing with that lineup. It's very strong, very powerful. Gonna be hard to beat in a lot of cases. And with the Mouthy Mercs, like, I gotta hand it to Coy. He really, like, thought it through with who he was picking out of that.
I think Coy came in and surprised me with, I know he's a veteran of the game. He's played, he's been in Inner Geekdom matches and such, but he hasn't really found his footing as a competitor, and I hoped that he would be able to do it as a manager, but I didn't know for sure. And that is a scary thought going into this kind of high-pressure environment when you're going against Roxy, who could have had Manager of the Year. And, I mean, Shannon, if she was pulling the strings behind corruption any longer than we've known about, I mean, come on. Mike was on a 3-belt run with Chance being a knockout right behind him. That's tough competition. And then Bobby Gucci, like I said, Manager of the Year every year pretty much.
And that's why I think it was a robbery with Haley Fouch, but I also think like it was smart for Coy to realize that that was still an option during a 5th-round pick. So for him to have Haley Fouch, Joseph Scrimshaw, William Bibiami, and Brendan Meyer, like he knows like what he's looking for. So you got like some good equal parts there. Haley Fouch is going to kill it. You got Joseph Scrimshaw, so you got a strong competitor for the Star Wars League, and you have Shazam. So Inner Geekdom, and possibly even more than that, is covered.
And
like he took some safe picks, but he took some strong picks, and that's why I think this could possibly be one of my favorite teams going throughout the season.
Yeah, he ended up with Mara as well in the 3rd round.
Yes, he did. So you possibly have an Inner Geekdom competitor there too. Mm-hmm. If she's going to do well or not, I don't know. I did not see her compete since she retired and then came back, so I personally don't know.
She hasn't competed yet. This will be her first match back.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm definitely going to. I'm not going to say she won't do well. I guarantee I'll be surprised the first match. So
I hope so. I think that Mara potentially could have been the best Inner Geekdom player of all time if she had stuck through. Obviously, she had her own reasons for not doing that. And you always want to respect that. You always want to give the players the love and privacy and all that. And we even know now that her match was rescheduled from the end of January to a later date because of other health problems and things. So the future could be very bright for Mara. We know she's a strong competitor. But for now, let's focus on getting her healthy. And well wishes to her and Dan as they navigate 100%. Through that. But yeah, man, I think, like you said, Coy really surprised me. And he looked more like a veteran out there than I thought he would.
He definitely like made it like his own thing, and I was just like, go Coy.
Yeah, I kind of thought that he might get a little stuck in the mud being in that 3rd pick area, because in a snake draft, that's not always the best position to be in. Sometimes you've just arrived a little too late to get the elites, and then in your next round, you're just behind the next best as well. But he played it to the best that he could, and I think it worked out really well.
He definitely got away with some sleeper picks.
But Shazam falling to him is just a perfect blend of everything. It is a
perfect laying in his lap. Like, here you go. Here is your opportunity.
Yeah, you love to see that. But that's all I've got. If you've got any more.
Definitely all I've got for this, because we said we do want to keep it short. We may have gone a little too far into detail, but hey, that never hurt anybody. If you want a more in-depth look at everything in the draft and most, if not all of the players, check out Alec's new blog that he goes on. I'll let you cover that because you know more about that than I do.
You can follow it on Twitter at blogmtsd, or if you want to go to the website directly, you can go to msd.art.blog. I'll have a full recap, maybe even for the awards and a preview of the next season as well. I don't know how much I'll squeeze out of this, but 2 to 3 articles a week is the goal. And yeah, guys, thank you for checking us out. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jimmy, for bringing me back for Schmoedown videos.
So when is, real quick, when are those blogs going to be going up? Do you have a set date for those yet?
I'm going to have to start working tonight, so I'll say the first one on Friday, second one on Monday.
Okay, sounds good. And I will have links to both the Twitter and the solo link, again, in the description down below, so you can check him out, as well as probably his Twitter link as well. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to let us know in the comments down below what you think of our picks for the Schmoedown this year. Are you with us? Are you against us? Let us know. We want to have that conversation. But until we get any more news, whether it's trades or big games that are going to be coming up, we know we got some big Inner Geekdom matches this season. We will see you guys next time.